Hello everybody, I'm Judy Mullins and my business name is Vintage to Chic. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of how I make a gingerbread guy. I do a lot of gingerbread pieces for my shop, and I'll post all the links to my shops down below and everything, items I'm using. Do that. It takes up too much time to tell you all that. I have 2 Etsy shops, a Facebook page, private class, all that, and everything's under Vintage to Chic. Anywhere you go, Etsy, wherever, Vintage to Chic, you'll find me. Have a design shop and a shop where I sell stuff. But I do a lot of gingerbread, and it's getting that time of the year to do some for the holidays. And if you're a crafter and you're selling, you're now working on holiday designs. So today I'm going to show you some teapots. I love to paint teapots, and I do a lot of them. Teapots, tea kettles, everything like that I do in the gingerbread. And I look for these real unique designs in different stores. Every store I go in, from Ross's to all the Home Goods, all those, I always look to see what kind of little tea kettles or teapots that they have. And these two, I got about 6 when I found these in different designs, but these are the 2 that I have ready. When I'm working on stuff like this, to save time, because I work to sell. I paint to sell my items, and you have to get paid. You want to get paid for the time you put into them along with your supplies. So I never work on one thing at a time. I flip back and forth while this one's drying. I'm working on the other one. Sometimes I've got 5 things lined up at a time working on them. I've been in this business for well over 45 years. But to save time, I went ahead and prepped this little tea kettle. And what I did is I sprayed it white, just like I've got this one over here setting ready to work on also, but I'm not going to put gingerbread on this. This is going to be different. This is a teapot, and I've sprayed it white. And I like to use the spray paint because I like a good smooth finish. So I take them outside and I use Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 white spray paint, and I spray them white to start with. This is another one, this little cream and sugar set. I will do the same way that I've done this. I've got it prepped and ready to go. Now after I got it white, you want to wait till about 24 hours after you spray that before you start painting on it. Okay, and I'm going to do this one all freehand. I'll show you as I go how I get the pattern on and stuff. But I have coated the outside with Delta's Americana's Honey Brown. Honey Brown is the color I've used to paint this outside color, which gives you a good color for a gingerbread guy. Okay, and it took about 3 coats. Like I said, when I'm working on things, I'm base painting, I'm doing a number of things at one time. So it'll take you about 3 coats. You have to do 1 coat, let it dry, 1 coat, let it dry. So if you're working back and forth, you'll save time doing more than one. And then this upper color, what I trimmed it in, is called this is Deco Arts Heritage Brick that I have put on the top and on the handles and stuff, and done all the other. Okay, now I like for it to sit, since I've got so many coats of paint on that thing, I like for it to sit overnight before I go in to work on it, because I don't want to be working on it and it raise the paint off with something I'm doing. It takes my paint back off. So I wait till like the next day, and then I go in and paint them all at one time. I've got some brushes laid out here, just some flat brushes, and I see that I haven't put me out a liner brush. Okay, now, and I've got a chalk pencil. This is a regular chalk pencil, Wright's White. That's a handy thing to have. And this one is a teapot, because it has a teapot tea bag thing on the inside of it. And that stays in. When I sell it, that'll stay in the pot. But it's not usable. They're made for decoration only. When you finish them, paint them, you can't cook with them or use them. Now on my palette over here, I'm going to put some checks around the bottom and the top. So I'm going to start with this one. Take that out because that's in my way. And I've got about a number 6, number 8 brush here. And I'm going to go down here to the bottom, and I'm going to put me a couple of rows of checks around there. And I'm going to wet my brush just a little bit to temper it. I don't want to use water, but I don't want my brush to be stiff. So I'm going to come over here on my palette and pick me up a little bit of that same color, that Heritage Brick. And I'm going to go right down here, and I always paint with using my little finger as a guide. Okay, that's what controls my brush, is my little finger. If you learn to set that finger down first before you set your brush down, you'll be able to control that brush. If you just go in like this and start painting, you don't have a lot of control over that brush. Okay, I'm going to go around and make me one row, and I'm not going to measure these because it being a round project, if it's not the same on this side, exactly the same as it is on the other side, it's not going to matter because nobody's going to be measuring them. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way around here and put me a little row of checks all the way around this teapot. Okay, I'm going to try to work on just one at a time today because I don't want to keep you on here. And if I talk too much at the beginning of the video, it takes up too much time because I want to try to keep them short. If you're watching me on YouTube, I hope you'll follow along, subscribe to us, and come back and watch my other videos. I've not been on YouTube very long. I've had a few on there for a while, but I've just recently got serious about with trying to grow my YouTube. And eventually I plan to go live on YouTube. So we're going to be working on lots of different projects over the next few months. And like I said, if you're a person who sells your crafts, right now is when you're working on fall and Christmas items. I've done Halloween this week. I've done a Christmas project yesterday, and I'm doing these. These, of course, you can use these for every day. And sometimes I have people order them, want them with the red. If you want to make it truly for Christmas, then just start as to where I'm using this dark color here, go in with red. Now I've got a row all the way around it, and I'm going to come back in between those and put one more row on there. So I'm going to have 2 rows of checks at the bottom. This is a fast project once you get it prepped. So you can sit down, and I'm a fast worker. I've always been, because I've worked, like I said, I've been in this business well over 45 years. I've sold wholesale, retail, owned a shop for 12 years. I've done it all. So you have to get, if you want to make money at it, you got to be fast at what you do, because you don't want to sell something and not get paid for your time. If you're just getting paid for your product and not for what time you put in it, then you're going in the hole. You're not making anything. Okay, I've worked craft shows. If you've been to the Gatlinburg Craft Show in the last 30 years, you've probably seen me at the show. May even have a piece of my merchandise. I have people contact me all the time that bought things years ago and want to know if I'm the lady who painted these. Now I forgot to put me out a paper towel there. Let me see if I can get me one. I'd lay one here so I can wipe my brush on it. Okay, now I'm going to go up to the top. I've went all the way around with that. Now I'm going to go up to the top and go around and do the same thing at the top. I'm going to put 2 little rows. Got a stray hair on that brush. Put 2 little rows. I'm letting my brush do the work. I've got a flat brush, good flat edge brush, and that's how you make good neat stripes or checks or whatever. Okay. I'm going to go all the way around this side. And I'm going to put 2 rows up here to the top. I will do the same thing to the other tea kettle, teapot, and I will do this on the cream and sugar bowl, and these pieces over here that I'm doing the cream and sugar set, I'll make the little checks around it, and then I'll put a face. We're going to do this, and then we're going to go in and put a face on him. Okay, I'm going to go right between them now and make another row. I don't want very much paint on my brush, so if you'll notice I'm picking up paint almost every time or every other time, because I want it to go on there good, but I don't want a big glob of paint. I never put my brush down in that paint. I sneak it in the side. Just sneak up on your paint and put a little bit on your brush. Okay, now we've got that around there. Now I'm going to clean my brush. And while that's drying just a little, because I'm going to go back in and shade and highlight those little checks, so while that's drying a little bit, I'm going to paint a face. I'm going to draw a face on him. Now I'm going to take my pencil here. I've got a chalk pencil that writes white. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make me 2 little ovals for his eyeballs. Go in here and I'm going to kind of eyeball it. And I'm just going to put me a little oval on this side and a little oval on this side. Just drew me 2 little ovals on there for eyeballs. See that? Now I'm going to draw me one in the other direction, crossways, so that you have a nose on there. Okay, I've got 2 eyes and a nose now. Now I'm going to put me out a little bit of white, and I'm going to go ahead and fill his eyes in. And I'm going to do his nose, and this nose, I want it to be a dark shade of red, so I'm going to use a Deco Arts Deep Burgundy. Is what I'm going to paint in his nose. Just takes a little bit of paint, so you don't want to put out much at one time. Okay, now I'm going to take a brush that's comfortable for me. Don't want to drop that. And I'm going to paint that one. Seems a little bit big. I'm going to go down to a smaller one. I'm going to put that white in his eyes. I'm going to paint a coat of white right in that oval for his eyes. Okay. Coming all the way around with that. May have to put 2 coats in there. If you have any questions I've not answered for you while I'm doing this, shoot me a question. I'll be glad to answer you. You can ask me one on here on YouTube. You can come over to my Facebook page. Now see, I've got 1 coat of paint in both of his eyes. Clean off my brush, and I'm going to put a coat of paint inside the nose. And it's going to be that dark red. It's called, what did I tell you? Deep Burgundy. All of these paints I think I'm using today are the Americana paints. Put 1 coat of that Deep Burgundy in his nose. His nose is an oval, just turned in the other direction. Okay, now I've got his eyes and his nose on there. See? Now I'm going to jump back up. While that's drying, I'm going to jump back up here to the top of my piece. And I'm going to take a little bit of black. I want to darken each one of those little checks that I put on there. I want to shade just a little bit in the bottom of each one of those checks. So I've got some glazing medium over here. This is just to help move my paint. You can use water if you like, but if you're learning, the glazing mediums are better because it has a little bit of body to it when you put it on your brush. And it not sometimes when person's learning, they get too heavy with the water and then it runs on them. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that medium on my brush. Then I'm going to dip it into the same color I made those checks on 1 corner. And then I'm going to go over here and touch that corner in the black so that I'm making another value. When you shade, you want a darker value of the same color that you're using. And when you highlight, you get a lighter value. Most of the time your highlight can be white, but your shading needs to be just a darker value. If you're using red and you add a little bit of this and you add a little bit of black to it, it's going to make it a little bit darker. See how that done? I'm putting a little stroke on the bottom of those little checks. You don't have to do every one, and they don't have to be exact. This just puts a little bit of dimension in your piece. It's not, something that's necessary. The more you do, the more dimensional you make it. See, I'm able to go all the way around that with that 1 stroke, with 1 load on my brush. Okay, now I got to do the bottom, so I'm going to go right back in and do that again. Pick up a little bit of my color and a little touch of black. Always blend it on your palette. Don't blend it, don't go over there until you've blended that paint on your palette, because it'll be too strong and you'll end up with just a black mark. Okay, come right in here and I'm going to touch each of these down here. Go right around the bottom. Like I said, this just gives me a little bit of dimension. See, this is a small piece, so it's going to work pretty fast for you. And these I sell in my Etsy shop. Or I have auctions on my Facebook page. Now I've got a shade line in each one. I'm going to highlight. Boy, my nose is itching. I'm going to take the same brush, not going to clean it. I'm just going to put me a little bit of water, a little bit of medium on there, and I'm going to go over and touch in my white. Just a tad, and I'm going to blend it on my palette. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to hit, just very, very lightly hit a stroke. Don't have to go in every one if you don't choose to. It's strictly up to you. But it gives it. See how that gives those checks just a little bit of dimension up there? Just by putting that little bit of shading, a little bit of highlight. I'm going to do the same thing down here to the bottom. See, I've got just a little paint, but I'm using such a small amount that I can get all the way around that teapot. It's small, and I can get all the way around with that. Now I've got a little shade and a little highlight each one. Now I want to I'm going to clean my brush this time. Take the water and clean my brush. Now I've got a dark brown, which is, this brown is burnt umber on my palette, and I'm going to use it to go up here. And I'm going to, excuse me, girls, gotta get a drink. Okay, I'm going to shade all the way around underneath this. So I'm going to pick a little bit of medium up on my brush, go up in that dark brown, blend it on my palette. I want this just to fade. Then I'm going to set it down flat right under my last row of checks on the top, and I'm going to go all the way around it underneath and shade under those checks. So when I pick up paint, I'm picking up a little medium, a little paint, blend it on my palette, and then come in and go around. Okay, I'm going to do this on the top and the bottom. See, if you just paint a set of eyes on there and thing, and you don't put any dimension to it, then you don't, it's not, it gives you a much better picture, much better thing if you put some dimension in your piece. And the more little strokes you put in or little things you do, the more dimensional your piece gets. Now see, I went all around that top with that shade line. You can see the shading around that top. I'm going to go down to the bottom and do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, we'll come around right on the top of this check line. This kittle has a little indentation there, a little separation. So I'm right on the top of it. Go all the way around that with things. See, now we're about half done already. Just about half done. I hope you'll share us out with your friends and tell your friends what you've seen if you like it, so they'll come along with us also. Okay, now I've went all the way around the tea kettle, got a shade line at the top, shade at the bottom. Now I need one more coat of white in those eyes. So I'm going to go back down, cleaning that brush out, and go back. I can put the white in with this same brush. This is not a very big one. But I need another coat of paint in that to cover that up. And since I'm going to put some black in there for the pupil of his eyes, so I'm just doing the left side. I'm doing the left side of each eye again, making it whiter on the left side of each eye. And I'm going to do the same thing with the nose. I'm going to wipe my brush real good. Then I'm going to go in here and put one more coat of red. I should have washed that white off. That made me a highlight in there, and I'm going to put a highlight in it, but I don't want it in there yet. So I'm putting another coat of red in that nose just to make it good and pretty color. Now I want to shade around the eyes and around the nose. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of medium on my brush, go back to the brown, the dark brown that I used for the shading, put a little bit in there and blend it on my palette. There's somebody blowing, it must be the neighbors. Then I'm going to come right here and touch right close to the eyeball, and I'm going to come around the eye. See, I'm working my way around that eye to shade. This will set the eye. When you shade, it sets something back. It sets it back. When you highlight, it pulls it forward. Okay, so I'm going right around that eye. And it's just going to set that eye right back in his face. And I've used that dark brown, and I'm going, the paint is touching the inner right close to the white, and then it just fades out because of the way I've got it blended on my palette. The way I've blended that paint across that brush allows me to put it in there. It doesn't look like it's outlined, it's just a shadow. Now I'm going to do the same thing around the nose. Okay. Okay, now I've went all the way around the nose. I need a little bit of shading in the nose. So I painted that nose with that dark red. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of medium on the right side. On the left side, I'm going to pick up a little touch of that dark red. You'll see I'm blending over my palette. Then I'm going to touch over just a hairline, just a pinhead of that black to put in that red so that it darkens it just a little bit. And I'm going to go down the left side of the nose. I'm going to make a C stroke in there. Now, can you see that little shade line I've put in the left side of the nose? Okay, now I'm going to put the black in the eyeball. Go down to a smaller brush. And you want to make him, you don't want to make him cross-eyed. So if you put it in the right side in one eye, you got to put it in the right side in the other eye. If you put it in opposite sides, he'll be a cross-eyed little gingerbread man. So I'm going to go on the right side and cover about half of that oval and put another little oval inside that one. This is the inside of his eye now. So he's got an eye, and the black is the pupil in his eye. Okay, I think that's what we call it, but anyway, it's in there. See, if you'll notice, I'm using my little finger to hold that to keep it from going down. Now he's got two eyes. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to highlight his nose just a little bit. So with the nose, I'll just wait a minute to highlight the nose because I have to highlight the eyes too, but I got to let them dry a little bit before I go in that black. Now I'm going to switch over to my liner brush, which is just a long, long narrow hair liner. It's called a liner or a striper. This one's not really long enough to be a striper, but it is a liner brush. Now when I load this one, I put it in the water and I pull it through my paint so that my paint is about the consistency of ink. I'm going to put a little water on my brush up here in my water bowl. Then I'm going to come over here in my black paint and I'm just patting it in there in the edge of it just to load it. I'm just loading my brush, and my paint has pulled out there till it looks just about like ink. Then I'm going to roll it to a point so that I can stand it straight up on its end. Got a little bit too much water there, I can tell. I can stand it straight up on the end, and see when I hold this brush straight up and down, see how thin I can make those strokes? My finger guides that, and I can make those strokes very, very thin because my brush is straight up and down and I'm only using the tip hairs, and the paint is so thin that it just rolls right off your brush. Okay, now I'm going to set this in here and I'm going to outline his eye. Come around his eye with that black. Okay, go around both eyes. Okay, now I've got his eyes outlined. Don't really have to outline the nose. Could if you want to, but it's got some shading behind it, so I don't fool with that. I'm going to put a little bit of eyelashes up here, and I'm just going to pull them straight up. Okay, just like so. See, he's got little eyelashes now. He just needs a mouth. Okay, now when I put the mouth in there, the mouth is always, that's what gives him his personality. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I should have had a piece of paper here. Let's see if I've got a piece I can hold up to where I can show you what I'm doing. Because the mouth can be in so many different shapes. You can make him smile, you can make him frown, whatever, Okay, let's try this and see if I can do it up here for you. Now I've got black on my brush. I'm going to load my brush real thin with the black. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just set my brush down. Okay, here's his eyeball and here's his nose. Okay, I've got an eyeball and a nose there. Okay, now I just go right under that nose, and I'm going to go in here, and I can do it this way. See how I've done that little mouth in there? I can do him that way. You can go in and practice. If you go to Pinterest, you'll find all kinds of face guides. You can make his mouth just one little smile line, put a little lower lip in there. You can do his mouth any way you like, and just, lay it in there. Okay, so many different. You can practice that on a piece of paper, because you don't want these. You want this line to be real thin through there. You don't want his mouth to be a big thick line. So I'm going to set it down. I'm just set my brush down there, and just whatever my brain, whichever way it goes, that's the kind of mouth he's going to get. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bottom lip in there. Now, see how he comes to life when you get that face in there? You've got his mouth and his eyes. I got to highlight his lips. Put some rouge on his cheeks. He's almost done. Okay. So I'm going to find me a little color up here. Let's see. I like to use I've got black paint from somewhere, and I'm getting it all over me. I don't know how I done that. Let me get me a wet thing here. I don't want to get that black paint on my piece. That would be a disaster. Unless I got it on a paint bottle, I don't know what I done. Okay, now where was I? I'm gonna put a highlight in his eyes. Okay, this time I'm gonna dip in my medium a little bit, and I'm gonna put a little white on my brush on the corner, blend it on my palette over here. And then I'm going to go in, and just like not making him cross-eyed, I'm going to make my little highlight mark on the same. I'm going to put it in the left side of the black part of the eye. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and make a little C stroke down, little C stroke down. See? Now he's got a highlight in his eyes. And I'm going to put a little C stroke in the nose opposite to where I put the dark line a while ago. See? He's got a little highlight in his nose. Now, I've got some color up here I like, and I don't think this color is available. I don't know if it's still available. I've had this. I've got paints I've had for 15 years. This one's called Gooseberry Pink. This is what I like for rouge. But when I go to the store to buy colors, I don't look for what's on the bottle. I look for what's in the bottle. So if you're going through the paints and you think, I need some rouge for a snowman's cheeks or a gingerbread or whatever, look at the bottom of the bottle and see what color that is, and then you'll know whether you can use it or not. Now I'm going to put a little bit of that in his nose. So I'm going to go in here and pick up a little bit of medium, a little bit of that rouge color, and I'm going to put it in his lip, not his nose. I'm going to put it right here, down here where his lip's at. See? Now I put a little bit of that color right in the bottom. That's hard for you to see. Right here. I'll put a picture of him online when I get him done. Now I'm going to put his cheeks in. And this time I'm going to use my finger. Okay? I like to do the cheeks with my finger. And I'm going to just take my middle finger here. I'm going to put a little medium on my middle finger. Just kind of tapping it in that painting medium so that it's a little bit wet. Then I'm going to tap over here in this rouge color. And I'm going to tap it on my palette a few times so that it's not real strong. Then I'm going to come in, and right here on each side of his cheek, I'm just going to go down, tap that, stronger at the top, and then just tap the other finger and let it fade out at the bottom. It's better to do that 2 or 3 times to get it strong enough than it is to get a big gob of that, big lot of it on at one time. And I'm just putting it halfway. I'm not making a circle, I'm just putting the upper part of the circle in. Okay, now he has rouge on his cheeks. See how pretty he is? See that? Now, really, the only thing we got left to do is to put a stripe around the top. We're going to put, gingerbread has a raggedy stripe on him like that. And we're going to put some polka dots on the handle here. So, and I'm going to take my brush. I've went down to a smaller brush, put a little medium on it. This time I want my paint to be, my white to be kind of easy to flow off my brush. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of water this time with that white. And I'm using the a full flat brush. This is just a smaller one. This says 6 on it, but it's more like a 2 or whatever. Now I'm going to start right here at the handle, and I'm going to put me a zigzag stroke all the way around, just like a gingerbread would have on him. You go till you run out of paint, you load again and start right back where you left off. See, I'm just going all the way around that with a stroke. And I'm just holding my little fingers, holding it in place. And I'm going all the way around. I'm going to do this the top and the bottom. When you get around to the eyes there, you have to be careful not to get your eyes too high when you're putting them on there, because you don't want to go down into his eyes. So be sure your eyes go down onto your piece low enough to get that stripe in there. Okay, now I've got a stripe. See, it looks more like gingerbread when you get them stripes and things on there. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom of the pot, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll turn it this way and pull it toward me. Usually I sign my pieces on the bottom, and I just use a permanent Sharpie, permanent marker. I try to remember to sign them all and date them, but sometimes they get away without me signing them. Okay. There's my dog barking. Some big truck in the driveway, probably FedEx or UPS. Always getting packages. Okay. I'm going all the way around till I meet that other side with this little wiggle line. It's just like you would see if you had gingerbread cookies and you got the white icing around his arms and stuff. That's what this is to represent. I've painted more gingerbread than I can count on everything. Okay, now see how pretty he is? He's just about done. Now I'm going to take the dot end of my brush, the wood end, and I'm going to put some white dots on the spout here, right here on the spout. I'm going to use this wood end, not that one, because that one don't look very good. Get me a brush that's got a good sharp end on it. There's a good one. And I'm going to go over here in my white paint, pick up a little bit of paint, blot it on there, and I'm just going to put me some little dots all over this top here, all over the spout. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing around the lid. I'm going to put like 2 rows of dots around the lid. So I'm going to hold my lid here, and I'm just going to go around it with a row of dots, and then I'm going to put one more row, just like I put those checks on the bottom. I'm going to put 2 rows of dots up here. Everything I do gets varnished. This one will probably get a spray-on varnish, which is Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 gloss varnish. If I brush on, I use Josanya brush on varnish when I'm using something that I want to brush on, but I can usually just spray these. There's so many, you know, nooks and crannies on it that I'd rather spray it. Okay, then I'll put some ribbon on the handle. I'll put a country fabric ribbon on the handle, and he's done and ready to go. Then we'll see where he ends up, in what state he travels to. Okay. After this, I'm going to take my toothbrush and I'm going to spackle it a little bit, and we will be finished with him. Now I'm going to put my lid, I put my little basket back down in there, put my lid on, and I'm going to take my toothbrush now. Let me get me a toothbrush. And I'm going to use this dark red that I used. I need my palette knife. And I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to put a little drop of water on my knife, and I'm going to thin that paint down just a little bit. A lot of people do this with their fingers and just flick it on, but I like to use my palette knife instead of using my fingers. I'm going to put just the tip end of my paintbrush in that paint. Very tip end, because I don't want my specks to be very big. Start around here on the back somewhere. And I'm just going to pull back. I'm going from front to back on that brush, and it's going to just flip the paint right off of there. And I'm going to go all the way around with that. When he's varnished, I don't want to get it in his eyes. I just kind of pass over his face. I don't want to put spackle stuff in his eyes. You know, where his mouth and his eyes and stuff is at. Okay, girls, he's done. Put that in my thing up there. Now see how pretty he is? He goes all the way around. He'll get varnished. Be real pretty and shiny when I'm done with him. I'll sign him on the bottom. Then I'll put a bow right here on the thing. I'll have that picture. You'll see that picture when I post. You'll see the picture. Okay, ladies, I hope I've taught you something, or gentlemen, if we have any. I hope you'll come back and you'll subscribe to my channel, and hope you'll come back and visit us. Make a comment down below, and I'll put the links to my shops down below. And like I said, if you have any questions, just message me, email me, whatever, on my Facebook page, Etsy shop. Here I'm vintage to chic across the board. Okay, girls, I'm out of here. Enjoy your weekend.